Hello friends, today I'm going to show you an example of Axios Interceptor in React, and we will be using TypeScript for this program. So what I have here, um, we have generated a program which is using interceptors, and you can see that I added three pages to it. One is the login.tsx, one is the api.ts, and one is the dashboard.ts. What we are doing is we will do a small authentication from the login screen, and then we will redirect the user to the dashboard. um, we will pass a small static token that was statically presented, I mean statically written in the api.ts. So this is the backend file, and we will check this one how it reaches the dashboard, and on the inspect element how we are reaching there. Okay, so I hope you already, if you are here, you already know how to start an React application. If you do not, then you can check the basic video on my channel and you can find that. All right. So once we created the project, we opened the folder, and then from there we launched the code space dot, which launched our application in VS Code, and we are here. Now, the first page that we are trying to fetch is the login.ts, login.tsx. Okay. So this one, what it has a username. I mean, if you are using a TypeScript, then you have to use an interface which has two objects, username and password, which will accept user inputs, and then it will process that information to pass on to the dashboard. But before doing that, it will go to the backend file, which is api.ts, and it will check, uh, verify a few things. It will carry the token from here. This is just an example. It's not a real token, but in real time, you have to use this one, the const.token one, instead of this one, and it will fetch this token item from the actual um, interface, or the from the page, and then it will carry on that to the next dashboard with a bearer token. Okay, so where we are using the request and response in this backend file, the api.ts, you can see that I'm trying to fetch a base URL, which is an open API. Where did I get this one? Let's go back to our Google Chrome, and you can see that we would be needing three pages from here, which is Axios Interceptor. This is the official website of Axios. If you Google up Axios Interceptors, then this website will be there on the top, and you just have to open that one, and from there you move on to uh, interceptors from here. Yeah, this one. All right, it's an a light theme. I used a dark theme. So yeah. So what is it showing us? It's showing us how to use the request and response. So you can see the top. It's a request type of function, and below that is the response type of function. So first, it is trying to check the configuration and send a request to our backend application, and then based on that, it will fetch the response and use that response. Okay. Another one is a dummy JSON file, which is giving us an open API. If you look up for open APIs, then you would find this one. I will put this link on the description. Okay, you will find this one on the Google, and you can see that you can use this one. So this is the link that I'm trying to fetch user IDs and passwords. So I just have one user ID and password from here, and we will not be going any further. We will just use this username and password because it also has credentials like authorization section, authentication section, which has sessions which might expire, and you can use that further. Another one, I will just be using a dummy JSON file from the JWT website. So jwt.io is the official website, and I'm just using this dummy code for to mention a JWT. Further that, I have this application which ran up, and it was an error. Okay, so go back to our program. We will see that what's there in the page we have. So on the login screen, you can see that we have importing. We are importing the API. That's the backend file, and we will check up yeah, we will use a post request to that API where it has our URL in the base URL. Okay. And what it's doing here, we will go to the login section. So whatever is the URL here, we will pass on a slash login to that one. And based on that, it will reach the open API, which is this one. And it will fetch the data from this open API, which has a username as Emily's and a password. Based on that one, it will allow us to it will take this user token. So a token will have a variable, a value of this encoded text that I have, and then it will allow this one to add it to the headers section of the uh, token or on the object which shows up on your inspect elements. Okay, and then it will check if the ID and password are valid, then it will assign this token to the header section, else it will not. It will just redirect, it will throw an error, whatever is the error. If this one is a success, it will move on to the next section which has a response. In response, it will give us the data which is fetched, and it will show us the email of that user, so which is this one. It's in our API. Wait, it was there. Okay, probably we will fetch that in the response section. I will show that where it fetched the email. And then if there is any error, it will simply remove that token and it will navigate it to the login screens stating that there was the ID and password was invalid and you cannot log into the dashboard. Okay. So invalid username and password, and it will take you back to the login screen with an error message. All right. So let's see what all things we added here. First of all, we installed the npm I Axios. This is the command that we will be using to install Axios. Um, Let me increase the font. Okay, I need to word wrap. Okay, so you can see that I'm using npm I Axios. Post that we will have React router DOM is something which we would needing to in order to use that. So npm space I space React router DOM, this one. All right. So because we would be using the React router DOM to send to navigate the user from one uh, component to the another one. Okay. Now after doing these two installations, I hope we should be good to do a start. Yeah, in order to compile your TypeScript files, we would need the tsc command, which is this one, tsc, that will compile all our TypeScript application files. Okay, so let's start the application and see what's the output. Okay, on the home page, we would see a login screen which will have a user ID and a password prompt, which will ask for user ID and password. It will fetch the API based upon the input. It will send a request to the API, and it will check if the ID and password are correct. It will allow us to move on to the dashboard section. If not, then it will throw us back to the login screen, and it will show us that the ID and password did not comply. The first screen that appears is the login screen. Okay, now on the username and a password, we would feed something which is not the actual um username and password. So we put in a wrong user ID and a password, and let's see, it should show up like an invalid username and password. By doing that, it's fetching the API from our backend, from the api.ts. If you look at the sources, we should go to the page, which is, you can see that I have some breakpoints here. You might find it helpful. Okay. And if I have a correct username and a password, it should let's log this one again and check what it's doing here. Okay, relaunch the application. We are using something different. Now it's hitting the breakpoint, which shows. Okay, if you're watching my inspect, you can see that it's moving to the API post login. Okay, it's checked API post login. So here it was using an async and await, the async and await function that we have, and it's when it's moving to the await, it's fetching the API.ts and then fetching the URL from there and adding a slash login so that it can reach the open API that we have, and then it's checking what's the response. If it's not a valid response, then it will go to the invalid username and password, and it will give us that error message on the screen. Okay. Now if we put on the correct one, this is the password, and the username is Emily's. Okay, you can see that it's again trying to fetch the same API that we have, and if it's correct, then it's showing me the email. Okay, you can see that emily.johnson.dummyjson.com is the email that it's fetching the from the data. Right here, dummy.json. Response.data. If you look at this data, this is the details that it's fetching from the API. Okay, what response we got from the API is showing up these things. The access token is the one that we already provided. The email it's trying to fetch is already in the API. The first name and the last name is also from the API. Gender, then it has an image, and these all things are there in the open API that we have. Okay, so after fetching all this data, when it finds that these are all correct, it will move on to the next page, which is the dashboard, and you can see that it came to the dashboard.tsx. Now it's trying to fetch the token. If there is a token, then it will give us the value. If not, then it will throw us the error. You are not authenticated. Okay. Now it has a token, so it will take us to the dashboard. Now we are in the dashboard. If we check the network tab and we check what all request responses it sent, in the bottom section you will see that the couple of response and requests that it sent us, and the final one was login, and while it was we tap on this one login, it will show us that this is the API URL that it tried to fetch. And then going a little down, you will see that the access token that it fetched. So this is pretty much the access token that we have. Okay, so these are the data that it's trying to fetch, and if you check the payload also, it will show the ID and password that it's sent to the API to check for the connection. Okay, so these are the things that are sent. Now in the header section, because we added the token here, so it's showing up the access token in the header section, otherwise it would not. Okay, and in the memory, in the application, if you remember, we used a local storage. So in the auth token, you can see it's passing the auth token. There is a value of the access token that we used in the auth token. Okay. So looking back at our program, we set the auth token in the header section. Okay. You can see this. This is the login.tsx. And you see that after doing the async and await, when it got the response from the API, it's passing on that response access token to the auth token here, local storage dot set item auth token. Okay, and where we are fetching this, we are fetching that in the dashboard. You see, now here we have a variable const token, and that's fetching local storage dot get item auth token. So here it's checking if there is something in the token object, then it will go to the dashboard, else it will return an error that you are not authorized. Okay, so pretty much that's all about this session. We understood what a request and response is like. So API.interceptors .request and API.interceptors .response is the two statements that we would be using to communicate using Axios. And the official website of Axios is this one. Okay, the JSON file that we used is this one, and the web token that we used is this one. All right, guys, I hope you understood what we covered on this video. If I will put this source code on the video link in the repository as well. So hope that helps. Until I have my next set of videos, stay tuned, stay connected, and happy coding. Thank you.